gonna be. Crap, I have to point that away. There we go. Just keep air moving around in here. And I'm live. Woo! Okay, a little bit late. Not a ton, just 10 minutes. For Cinder Studios Draws, second edition. So, other than all my random in-between streams while playing Apex Legends with friends and all the shenanigans that occur on Discord, this is the officially rescheduled weekly stream, now happening on Tuesdays rather than Wednesdays. Same time as always, 6 p.m., although I'm 10 minutes late today. And my most recent sort of big long playthrough was an old favorite game of mine, Kirby Superstar on the Super Nintendo. Now, I played it on emulator, but I do have the cartridge version, which is a fun thing for me. And I also have the original instruction booklet. So that's what I'm actually going to be pulling from today. I wanted to get my sketches done ahead of time, but unfortunately it didn't quite happen. So I'm actually going to pull some stuff out of the instruction booklet in the using the controller explanations. I miss instruction booklets. It's a really unfortunate thing that games, when you buy games, doesn't really come with them anymore. But there's all kind of fun stuff in this about little bits of story, tells you some things, gives you some character notes. But some of Kirby's actions and the little sprite art here and everything like that, really interesting stuff in the book here. So I'm going to, I think, pull maybe one or two of these out to draw this evening. I'm not really sure. I wanted to have, again, my initial sketch done, because the initial sketch you guys probably aren't really going to see initially. I use a very, very, very light pencil when I'm doing the initial sketch, and then when I start doing the heavier stuff, you'll start to see me grab some, probably 2-3 other different pencils and things like that. But I'm going to go ahead and actually first figure out which one of these I want to do. So, there's a few different actions. I definitely wanted to get this inhale one done. So I think I'm going to give that a shot. So, I'm sure the retro gamers out there are screaming at me for folding this page of this booklet that's actually in really good shape. But I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. Let's set that there on the side for myself. Also, because I know I'm not super confident with circles, I'm going to see if I can use my circle template to get Kirby's base shape down as we go. Actually, it just occurred to me I should get this stream out to Twitter before I forget. Weekly posts and stuff. Oh, crap. Of course, now that would make sense if I actually put the damn link in the stupid tweet. Idiot. I forget that a lot. Like, hey, post. Oh, wait, I forgot the link. Damn it. And I'll do my best to sort of narrate the process, so to speak, if you're actually interested in learning some art skills and things like that. So... And as always, feel free to come in, say hi to me in chat, and anything like this. If you actually want me to play games tonight, I probably will a little bit later, but not until the drawing's done, so that takes precedent first. So I have a nice big, what is this, a 3-inch circle? Yeah, 3.5. Ooh, that's pretty good. Having some red wine tonight. So I'll start with the inhale, probably about here. That'll give you a nice base to start with. So he's mostly round in this, so it shouldn't be too difficult to really kind of get these forms up and over. Kirby's a nice easy shape with some easy little blobular arms, so not the hardest thing in the world to draw, just tough to kind of get it right and make sure the blobs look like blobs and not so much like sticks. I've drawn some Kirby stuff before, and it's tough to get the shapes perfectly right, but it's not totally impossible. I tried to do some Zelda stuff, that's a lot harder. That level of design is something I can't seem to wrap my head around, but the Kirby stuff is at least doable for me. So there's one funny arm. It's still not as wide as I want it though. Started out way too thin. And again, this is the initial sketch phase, so not a lot of this you'll be able to see, if any. And I do apologize for that, because I did want to try and get this done ahead of time. But I did not, because I had a lot of stuff going on today. Mostly dinner stuff. I was making a roast, so that obviously didn't help things any. So these other arms kind of top out me about here. Just inhales and just lifts his arms up. It's like, I need all this extra traction for sucking in enemies. Fun fact about Kirby is that he was designed to be a character for like an introductory or beginner gamer. So the first few Kirby games, specifically NES and Game Boy era stuff, revolved around gameplay being remarkably easier than a lot of other games Nintendo was putting out at the time. That's not bad. I can work with that. His feet are very similar, but of course a little larger. I actually want to give him give myself a baseline to work with. Make sure his feet don't go down either too far or not far enough. That's not bad, if not a little bit off again. And I could just make the one shape and be done with it, but actually I think my baseline is too low. Should have left that more open. Yeah, it's gonna be whole thing's gonna be too long now. Keep telling myself I gotta think rounder rather than more elongated. Now I did use the circle template to get the shape, but I'll likely just freehand it when I get to the darker lines, because I want that to seem a lot more natural and a lot more like the rest of them. Here's this other one that's also, I mean, they're kind of like rounded triangles almost, so they're not that horribly difficult to do, but if you take it out too far, you can really screw it up. And this is the one thing that's harder about having a single copy. I'm so used to having stuff on my tablet that I can just pinch and zoom in with to really get those lines, so I gotta be careful as to not really push that too far. either direction. Okay, so this is the inhaling Kirby. His eyes are more upward facing since his whole body is being stretched. I'll play with a little bit of foreshortening and perspective with his eyes, which isn't what the picture shows, but it makes more sense to do it that way. Mouth arcs in a lot closer on that side. And then you can kind of see the bulges in his cheeks a bit more. Lower section comes down. And he has a nice tongue in the center there that kind of comes and matches it. That's not bad. I can work with that. I am rushing a little bit because I wanted to have this done like maybe at like 2 this afternoon, and that's like right when I like couldn't work on it. And I think he's got a couple little blushies on the side there. Just 3 little lines to kind of indicate a bit of a cheekbone. So that's pretty solid. I can start with that. I think I want to play a little bit. I don't want this to be a direct copy, so to speak, of the art book stuff. I mean, pose-wise, it almost has to be, because I don't think that way outside of outside of that. But I can play a little bit with that, and I actually got to remember his eyes. It's the one thing with the eyes is in specific Kirby characters, the little round, you might call them almond-shaped eyes, but they're way more oval and uniform than that. They don't have pupils, but they do have little shine spots. And that's the one thing that'll be the most obvious when I do the darks. And they're actually, depending on what picture you're looking at, there is actually a little bit of gradient with it. But this is just strictly a black and white quick contrast for the small artwork here. So I think I can play around with a little bit of this angle more. Once again, in advance, I do apologize that this probably is not showing up on camera, at least not super well. But initial sketch is that's just what happens. So that's really not that bad. I'd like to round it off even maybe a little more on that edge. That's not bad. I can work with that, I think. That's pretty good. I want to get some air lines at some point. Get the movement of the actual inhaling motion. He's inhaling a waddle-doo in this, but I actually may play with the idea of him inhaling another version of himself. Actually, I have to have a little bit of a look now. Ooh, this would be fun. There's an upside down Waddle Dee. If I can transpose this onto here, that would look really great. I'm fairly certain I've done at least a Waddle Dee or maybe a Waddle Doo before, so this shouldn't actually be super difficult. I will make my circle a little bit smaller though, especially since Waddle Dee is a slightly different shape. I want to give the indication that he's actually being pulled in a little more. So, his legs are kind of up in the air and a little more in the foreground. This one kind of comes up and around like that. Make it a little pointier maybe. And then he has sort of a cheekbone that pops out about here before it kind of circles back. Because while Kirby's sort of just one layer, the Waddle Dee is more like two, because the full facial structure is a little differently in the way it sits. But it still kind of comes up around that same upper line. About like that. And the arms are very similar as well, just sort of little nubs that pop up. Keep it maybe it's just a little pointier than that. A little more distress for him as he's being sucked into Kirby's inner void. But yeah, if you're like, you know, at least a little decent at drawing, I think Kirby's a good character to start with. Like so simple, not really complex at all. Pretty easy to kind of work with in terms of learning how the character looks. Waddle Dee also has these sort of little side blushies. So just a couple of lines for them. And the eyes are just about identical. So it's that same sort of oval shape with the shines in them. And the shines will end up just being basically white spaces that I end up leaving. Just to dip down a little bit more. And get his other arm flying up this way. That's pretty solid. I can deal with that. Maybe make his eyes just a little bit longer. It's really been a long time since I've done Kirby characters, but for some reason I really do enjoy drawing in that style. That's pretty solid. I think that'll make a good drawing tonight. Get a little round puff of something here. Pebbles or things that were inside of that other sketch. Alright, I can work with that. Get a little of that, maybe shadow underneath Kirby at some point. Alright, that's a good start for today. Again, if you're just tuning in, I apologize that the sketch is very light, but the initial sketch is going to be very light. I'm going to go ahead and start on, look at one of my drafting and layout pencils, I think. Let's see what this looks like. That's too light. It's a B. B will work, I think. Oh, hello. B. How about a 2B? That's not going to be sharp enough. Oh, hello, there it goes. Oh, my pencils are flying everywhere. Ooh, that's a nice small one. I can get a good arc on that. I'll grab that one. Sorry, bumped the mic. That part's probably loud. And then probably lean on my classic ebony pencils, or maybe a woodless. It's a 2B, it's a 6B, it's a 9B. I'll grab a 6. And sketch and wash would be fun if I'd picked better paper. Where are all my ebony pencils? How the hell am I losing all my ebony pencils? They must be sitting out somewhere. Probably from the last drawing I did like 2 months ago. I gotta clean the studio up. Everything's very out of place. Well, here's an older ebony I can snag. One of these 10-year-old ones that are way better than the old ones, or so I'm told, but honestly I find the difference is really negligible. Alright, let's start on some darker lines now. Oh wait, I need blending stump and a brush. Big brush is missing too. Oh, that's where all my pencils are. Jeez, it just hit me. Where all my pencils are. They're still sitting out for... Yeah, of course they're still sitting out for my last project. Alright, that's where my pencils are. That's where my erasers are. Of course, alright. Yeah. That's where my HB is. Yeah, they're all sitting out from the dust and fidget drawing from the last time I did one of these. And actually never really finished that drawing, which is why I set all the stuff there. So there's all the stuff I wanted. Alright. So I could put back... I might put back just the ebony and the 6B, because I have all these others sitting out now. That goes there. Alright. So now I actually can start on the rest of this. Actually, I do want the, see if I can get a piece of acetate film here. It might be shiny, so I do apologize for that. We'll see how much reflectivity I get once I set this down. Oh yeah, there's a big shine there. I'll have to keep it flipped over. Alright. So, just want to start with some of these basic bubble shapes on top. Keep things relatively simple. I'll do my darker lines sort of as a finishing touch. But you guys will be able to see at least the basics of this coming up very soon here. And then of course when I start doing my heavier shading at the end, that's where things tend to get a little more fun. So the booklet's here. I gotta make sure to take that back upstairs, stick it with the cartridge later. And like I promised before, I'm not gonna use the circle template again. I'm just gonna freehand it when I get to the rest of this. Because I do want to keep the more natural. Actually, I probably will need that booklet again at some point here. Just to make sure my values are correct. Almost, I may add in a little sweat bubble or something for the Waddle Dee as he's panicking, getting sucked up. Yeah, guys are probably going to start to be able to see some of this now. Just a little. Got to look closely and watch in full screen if you're able to. I would zoom in, but it's really difficult to do that with my webcam. Well, it's not difficult, it just doesn't look great. Yeah, we get the brush to wipe away the debris. Actually, that's driving me nuts now too, because a few friends of mine were by Saturday. And I was looking for a couple of these pencils, and I couldn't find them because they were on the floor, and we both had stepped over them. And I'm like, really? Am I that dumb? I can literally step over something and be like, where is it? Where is all this stuff? So I'm basically circling that shine mark on the eye and then filling it around it. A lot of people want to try and draw the eye and erase away that little shine section, and it ends up looking, you either can't get it white enough or it doesn't quite looking right, although it seems like I already did screw that up by making that too dark, but that's why we start light and get dark later. Make sure your lines are right before you start laying down heavy graphite or pen or whatever you do. Or if you don't do any of that stuff, then you can watch from my mistakes and learn from them and say, hey, he made a mistake there. That was fun, but don't do it again. So I was looking, I'm like, any Discord people on tonight? Nope. Must still be too early. Although, when I do my weekly streams like this, I like to keep my Discord chat silenced. Keep those shenanigans for the off days, and just keep my regular stuff for the regular days. Need to be able to concentrate when I'm actually either playing a game for the first time or, you know, what have you. I like the weekly stuff to be a little more calm, relaxing. Part of me wants to give the Waddle Dee eyebrows, but I'm pretty sure the Waddle Dee has never had eyebrows. Just keep thinking of, had a viewer recently that streams the Kirby anime with the English dub version. And I remember an episode. Of course, most of the episodes I watched were subtitled with original Japanese audio, where there was a Captain Waddle Doo and all these Waddle Dee soldiers. It's like, Captain, how many Waddle Dees are there in this castle? And he looks, and they're going back and forth carrying stuff. And he's like, I don't know. It's like, what? Aren't you their captain? You should know how many there are. He's like, well, there's more than 10, so that's a lot. It's like, what are you, an idiot? The way the Waddle Dees are portrayed in that show is just hysterical. Not quite mindless drones, but they have really simultaneously hilarious and adorable. Their walk cycle alone is just like, yeah, sure. It's just they're doing their own thing. There's one episode that I don't even know if ever got an English translation, but there's a clip of it on YouTube, and it's called No Mouth. It's about like, well, how does the Waddle Dee eat if it doesn't have a mouth? And they hold up it sounds like cookie when they say it in Japanese, but it's apparently what it sounds like is more just like it's meant to be like biscuit or piece of bread or whatever, but it looks like a cookie in the show too. Little round brown disc, and they hold it up in front of his mouth, and it goes and just like disappears in front of his face, and then he's like there chewing it, and they're like, what? How the hell does that happen? Good times. The show is certainly rife with some fun character moments, if not being pretty terribly written. But you can tell the show is definitely meant for a younger audience, so I guess I can't complain. It's pretty much the exact definition of a Saturday morning cartoon. Also freehanding Kirby's shape. Outside of getting that circle template to start, kind of makes his blobular nature a little bit more realistic, I guess you could say. Makes him feel like he's not just a circle template, that he actually is has a little more shape to him. Okay, once I finish this initial outline phase, I'm going to go into some shading, which will start to make things pop out. And then after the initial shading, I'll come in with my my ebonies for some dark outlining. And actually, that's all there really is to it. To a drawing like this, pretty simple. Just establish the shapes, map your stuff out, and don't get too dark too fast. Really, that's about it. All there is to it. Also, a whole lot of practice to get your shapes right, like knowing your fundamentals and everything like that. Yeah, I should be able to at least start to see his eyes and everything like that now. Let's see, I need his feet and his mouth outlines. And then we'll be good to go for some shading. Was this a 2B? Yeah, okay. Okay. Actually, after that final stage of outlining, I will come back in with my eraser and clean some other lines up a little bit as well. Got this weird thought just now about Kirby and like a doctor, almost like a Professor Oak cartoon doctor, being like, Kirby, you need a gastric bypass. Oh man, I cracked myself up. Alright, So there's my base outline. I can give a little underlying shadow to Kirby now. Imagine he's mostly just sort of a little round shadow on the ground there, if anything. Alright, so actually, yeah, I do need to open up my booklet, at least for the Waddle Dee section, just to see where the shading in the character is. Where'd that go? There's like tips or something like that on one of these. Sucking them in, or he was actually being bounced on a parasol in the sprite. Oh man, where'd that go? There he is. Alright, so that'll give me at least the base values for the characters. So Kirby's mostly one color, sort of that pink color. We're not totally gonna rely on that as the solo though, because his mouth also is gonna be two different shades. And I'm not using pink, I'm just using the graphite. Yeah, so his, let's say, what are we getting out of this? So his tongue and mouth are fairly similar in value, and shading is kind of down underneath them a bit. So there's probably top-down lighting. Alright, so... Alright, I can work with that. I just gotta be careful that so probably his inner mouth and his shoes will be about the same color, and then there'll be sort of a mid-ground for his tongue. If you're not used to determining the value of color without... Oh, I've got an HB, that might be perfect. If you're not used to really determining the value of colored things without just like tossing something into Photoshop and just saying desaturate, then it can be tricky to get a hold of doing that. So I want him to be kind of... I imagine Kirby's a lot more soft, so keep him in the realm of just being kind of a nice fluffy ball of stuff. Whatever the hell Kirby is made out of. Aerogel, I guess. We'll see a little bit of ghosting happening on my shading here, just based on the fact that I used a harder pencil and it caused some burnishing on the paper. But I feel like that's totally acceptable. Yeah, that's really all the more graphite I needed there, just to give him a little extra shadow and things like that. She's like, this is the other thing too with why Kirby's so easy is it's basically like drawing just balls in like value studies and stuff like that. Like Kirby's design is very much like just the basics of art, so it makes it really easy to draw them. Alright, I'm grabbing, it's not the HB, maybe the 2B for like his tongue and the shoes. Are they feet? Are they shoes? Who the hell knows? But my goal is just for that to be a little bit darker than his body. I feel like this 2B isn't even a 2B. Doesn't feel as dark even as my... Of course, the woodless pencils are darker anyway, but yeah, I can just use the woodless a little heavier, I guess. Plus the underside of his shoes are going to be just a little bit darker anyway, since they're sitting in shadow. So I think I will grab a little bit of the ebony for that, just on the tail end of his shoes, just to keep them a little darker. And then we'll blend out again. I can always lighten, I can always grab my kneaded eraser and pull some of this color out if I absolutely have to, but I think I'm kind of doing alright. keeping this a little cleaner than my last drawing. To be fair, when I did the dust drawing a month and a half ago or whatever it was, probably wasn't that long. Probably really only about a month ago that I did the dust drawing, but it forced me to kind of think back to some techniques that I haven't touched in a while. Even when I do a big cartoony graphite drawing like this, it's not a style I work in a ton, so I have to kind of remind myself to play with some techniques that I don't normally pull out of my bag of tricks. Yeah, so Kirby's got a little shadow on him. Mostly for the baseland. I can just kind of keep extending that around even. Now I wanted his, what was it? I don't even know what I said here. The shoes and the tongue to be about the same. That sounds about right. Yeah, 'cause I imagine the tongue would be lighter and sort of the back of his mouth would be a lot darker. So I think I want to leave his tongue, or at least maybe, I'm not even sure now. One of them I want to keep the texture of the paper there. Probably the back of his mouth, just for that extra difference. So we're going to keep his tongue kind of in the similar realm of the value of his shoes. And then the air that I'm sucking in will actually kind of come in with an eraser at the very end to make sure those lines are a lot whiter. But that's pretty solid. And then I'm just going to use the ebony. I need my cover sheet so I don't smear the graphite to kind of come in and just give him a little extra finesse on the back of the mouth. I really don't like that texture for his mouth. I might just keep it blended, but keep it darker too, especially at the back. This is why I can take a few liberties, an artistic license, just to make sure things kind of look right. If I had a character maybe with a cloak or something, I would leave more of the paper texture on there. To push a little extra, just a little extra detail, but I don't think it's really necessary for a piece like this. And then when I come in with my darker lines, a lot of that'll pop out more. I do want to get his eyes too, because at least at this point, once you guys see the eyes, everything is going to pretty much be perfect with the exception of the outlines. And to be fair, the eyes are basically like doing the outline. So if I do them now, I won't have to do them later. And they'll be nice and dark. Just get the sharper one here. There we are. We got ourselves a Kirby. Now we just need a Waddle Dee. Alright. Give my little rocks and bubbles an outline to start some of this as well. And you know what? I want to give them some shading as well. Keep everything in in check and uniform together. Not a ton, just a little bit using what's on the blending stump as well as what's already down there on the edge lines. So Waddle Dee is a little bit darker in the body and has a lighter sort of face area. So I can probably actually just keep with what I've got. Again, on the blending stump here, and just kind of give him a real light grazing on his face. Keeping him light, but still at least a little shadowed to kind of mimic that color. Although, I just realized it's backwards. He's supposed to be lit on the bottom. And while that is technically, yes, the bottom of his chin, all of our light's coming from the top. And so now we gotta move our light from there to here. Or rather, our shadows from there to here. There we are. Alright. That's a little bit better. Not great. Not as much as I really wanted to do that with, but just a little bit in there. So then when I come in to do his eyes, they'll pop out more. Crap, went a little too far. That one on the left's a little wider than it's supposed to be. That's okay. Very minimal issue. Although now I made the shine too damn large. It's less than I wanted it to be, but I'm not sure if I can actually fix that at this point. Alright. Yeah, so his body was a little darker, and then his feet were actually slightly lighter. So we're going to see what we can manage here. Oh, crap. That's what I get for dragging the back end of that pencil around. Not remembering I'm using a woodless pencil as I'm using a woodless pencil. My glass is in the way. Actually, if David heard me saying that, he'd probably have a conniption. He's like, what? Glass is never in the way. It's when I'm drawing. When I'm drawing the drinks and the least important things. I got a little too silly last night streaming with those guys. Yeah, it's alright. Still feel like his face is too dark. Probably could have just left it the pure white and been okay. Alright. Work on the hands, the arms and the feet here. Well, the arms are going to be the same color. So I can just drop in that here, and actually his arm on the right here from my source picture just about blended with his edge on this side, so I can get this pretty close and actually blend it with some of the shoulder area in order to make things a little more uniform. Yeah, it looks pretty solid. Just have to remember not to totally outline that. Maybe just give it a slight indication of where it comes in on that side. Actually, now that I'm seeing this, this line should come down a little further. Or maybe it's up. It's hard to tell at this point. What's up, what's down, who knows. And then, yeah, same deal in here. Just keep it dark. But careful around the face area. Alright, that's pretty solid. His feet weren't quite the same color as his face, but they were really close. I'm going to switch back to my 2B and just kind of give the one side of these feet a little extra shading. And then mostly just stick with what I was doing with the face and just keeping things fairly uniform. Actually, now that I'm seeing this and the way this foot's sitting, I want to get a little more extra shadow underneath it. Even a little darker, maybe. Because if our light source is coming from the top, we want to make sure that's nice and dark. Picking up on the shadow from where his foot would be casting a shadow. This side looked pretty solid. Just a little bit on the bottom. Rub that out and around. And then that underside of his foot would be catching a little shadow from his body actually on that side. About like that. We've got a Kirby and a Waddle Dee. That honestly feels really good. Actually, my camera seems a little blurry. And at this point to realize that is kind of unfortunate. Yeah, might have been a little bit. Apologize for that. So yeah, I'm pretty good with shading at this point. I'm gonna come in with some dark lines, some final details. I'm gonna clean this up, and that's actually all this drawing is gonna take. But you'll like me see me continuing. Wow, I've been doing this for an hour almost already. Time flies when you're drawing stuff, fun stuff. So I'd say I'd probably have another about 20 minutes of work on this. After that, I'm probably going to go upstairs and stream some Apex as well for this evening, because I've been having a blast playing that. I got to start thinking about what game I want to play next Tuesday, though, because I really have no idea. Who knows if it's more retro or I don't know. I really got to give it some thought, because I'm not sure. I've been dying to maybe go back and do like an Earthbound run or something like that, but it would take a lot more than one day. So we'll see what happens, I suppose. So I'm going to come in and just start giving my final outline here. And then I'll clean some stuff up and we'll see where we go from there. So I will be slightly excuse me, turning my drawing pad a little bit as I go here because I want to make sure my circles are at least somewhat accurate. For hanging out in chat, feel free to drop by and say hi. Could always use a quick comment, letting me know you're watching. Sorry if I'm not talking too much right now. I do have to concentrate a little bit when I'm doing the outlines. They do take a little extra level of patience. I can talk when I'm doing the shading, but getting these outlines is a little more of a challenge. So I do have to pay attention a bit. Also, I will say, with using the circle template earlier, I'm really generally very confident with my circles. But specifically for like a character design kind of thing, it's like, I don't care how confident you are. At a certain point, it has to look right. And if it doesn't, you're going to be screwed. So you kind of have to find a way to make things look right, even if it's a little difficult sometimes. Yeah, so I can actually afford to get a little darker in here underneath his shoe. I keep wanting to say shoes, but I know they're not really shoes. Are they feet? Are they shoes? It's really hard to tell. Either way. Get a little extra light up in here. Pull some of that away. Almost like getting a little extra shine on them. Pushing that contrast up a little more. I will say this, a lot of people give some artists flack about only really being able to reproduce like official artwork, like the stuff out of the instruction booklet like I do. But honestly, being able to reproduce characters in like any pose and any shape and any size is damn near impossible for someone like me. So the fact that I'm able to even do this at all, honestly, I find to be a pretty big miracle. Also, it's rare that I catch that you'll even catch me streaming / recording the initial sketch phase of a drawing. So for those who've been watching from the very beginning, you guys are awesome. Get that back of his mouth just a little darker. Maybe that section underneath his tongue so that sticks out more. Aha! We've got a Kirby. Yeah, once you really get those dark lines in there, everything just kind of pops. And that's something I love about drawing in the heavy shading style like this, is that you can do all that shading underneath, but as soon as you hit that nice dark outline, it's just everything just jumps. I may even get a little extra light on his tongue. The indication of like that center line in that everyone sort of has down the middle, or at least that they show in cartoons a lot. I don't even know what they'd showed in the Kirby cartoon, if they showed a line on his tongue or not, but I think having a little extra light there would really keep the contrast moving a bit more. Yeah. Actually don't like the way this line's sitting on the bottom. Ooh, hello. Almost spilled my glass. Kinda wanted to make a pink drink tonight and call it the Kirby, but I was already running a little late. Didn't want to push things any further than I had to. Now that's too thick. Great. Alright, well. Guess I just have to work with it as is. I don't know if it'd be too much to even try and shave that off at this point. A little bit. A little bit at the bottom there. That's alright. I can work with that. Alright, so I want to flip Waddle Dee upside down to get his head right. Oh, you know what I should have done is pulled some stuff from my Return to Dreamland booklet. That would have worked a lot better than this. But hey, at least I'm being authentic with using the original art book. Whoops, there goes my needed eraser. Think about making Waddle Dee's base tone a little bit darker. Kind of offset his sort of blendiness to Kirby a bit. It would be a fun way to do one of these drawings. Would be actually to draw the cartridge with the game logo and the sticker and everything. Maybe I'll keep that for a future idea. Alright. Pretty solid around his face there. Actually, because I used my plastic foam, I probably won't have to erase as much as I would normally do if I was dragging my hand all the way across the page. But I do need to keep flipping this in order to make it seem right. I'm actually not super happy with the Waddle Dee's left foot here. I think it's a little too big, or maybe a little too long, elongated. But at this point in time, I don't want to change any major lines. If I was working digitally, yeah, I could totally do it. But traditional work, you've got to be a little more foresighted rather than hindsighted. As they say, hindsight's 20/20. So I don't want to take his outline on that side up as far. Just kind of keep it lower. Match his arm to that side. Right, we got our outlines. Yeah, and I think I do want to actually come in with the ebony and just kind of darken Waddle Dee a little. Maybe actually give him that texture. For some reason, I imagine not a D, Waddle Dee. I imagine a Waddle Dee to be almost furry for some reason. I'm not really sure why. I think it might just be the brown color that they are. Like if there was a live action Kirby, I think the Waddle Dees and Waddle Doos might be like a little bit fuzzy. Like a plush toy. I don't know. Just one artist's speculation, I guess. Yeah, so work that paper texture back into there. Alright. So at this point, actually it's probably going to be just about that, almost exactly that 20-minute mark, which is going to get me at least to my stream. My stream's stream length right now says 109, so I think it'd be like 114 or so. That actually would be that 20-minute mark, further than I estimated, which is honestly pretty solid, I could say. I guess I know my process well enough that I can estimate my time pretty well. at least in terms of how long it's going to take me to do the next thing. So I'm just going to clean up a couple more lines here. Specifically the air intakes, which, as I mentioned before, I'm actually going to do a little bit of erasing to showcase a bit more. Specifically right when those lines hit his mouth. So I have sort of that dark section, and then when I come in with my eraser, specifically right on that edge, I can get that line to come in just a little bit further without actually damaging what's underneath. Basically erasing a white line right next to that darker line in order to make sure the integrity of what's underneath still stays intact. This one, I'll actually do one on top rather than on the bottom. And I'm getting a little bit of smearing, but I'm using that to my advantage, at least with this eraser, to do something like that. In about, there you go, a little over an hour, you got yourself a Kirby drawing with a Waddle Dee. I feel pretty good about this. I haven't done a Kirby in a long time, and I feel like there's at least something to be said about getting something like that done in an hour. Just get a little extra shadowing in here, I suppose. So, where'd that needed eraser go? There it is. So yeah, at this point I'm just going to clean up a couple of lines on the outsides of the characters. Some of those initial sketch lines showing through, just to be sure that's nice and clean around that edge. Anything that, when I was blending, I went a little too far with, so I can just pull those extra lines up nice and easy. Needle erasers are fun because you can just keep pulling them, working that graphite out of them, create any shape you need out of it. It's kind of like working with silly putty, or I don't want to say rubber cement. Rubber cement's more of a liquid, but yeah, that's about it. Well, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick signature, and I think probably call this drawing finished. Alright. So, that's my Kirby Superstar drawing. In order to sum up my last big official stream, which was the roughly 3-hour playthrough of the Super Nintendo game Kirby Superstar. If you have not played it, I highly suggest trying to find it on an emulator. Virtual Console, I don't even know if Virtual Console is still a thing for the Wii U, but if not, I'm sure you could find a ROM of it floating around somewhere online. Fantastic game. If you can and have a Super Nintendo, seek out a cartridge of the game. Probably not going to be the cheapest game you find around. People that hold on to a game like this that's really good tend to not sell it, so finding a copy of it's probably going to run you anywhere probably from like $50 to $100. So not the most common game you're going to find out there. But honestly, it's totally worth it if you've never played it before. If you just want to live vicariously through me, you can watch my playthrough of it. I think it's probably still here on Twitch. If it's not, it should be on my YouTube channel, Cinder Plays. And if you'd like to see more of my artwork, stuff like this, stuff not like this, some of the crazier landscapey stuff I do, stuff that I paint with, you can check out my main YouTube channel, Cinder Studios. But for all that fun stuff, keep tuned here on Twitch. I'm probably going to take a short break, go back up to my office, start streaming some FPS games and stuff like that. Again, as I kind of mentioned before, been digging Apex Legends lately, talking with people on Discord and stuff like that. So if you want to see me get increasingly frustrated, trying to go for headshots in the next probably about 20 minutes or so, I'll be back. Join me there. If not, thanks for tuning in. You can find a time-lapse version of this drawing that I did tonight, probably in about 2 weeks' time, over on my art channel. Links to everything are around somewhere, I'm sure. If not, you can always personal message me if that's a thing you can do on Twitch. I'm actually not sure. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. So, whatever your situation, keep following me here on Twitch. Subscribe on Cinder Plays, as well as my art channel, Cinder Studios, and I will see you guys next time.